This is Scripts and Screams.
Now your hosts with the ghosts, Jessica Morgan and Chris Carter.
Oh,
New shit, huh?
New intro.
New intro, new spooky season,
Spooky.
2025. Yeah, we're back. And I mean, we live for this time of year. It's been exciting for us leading up to this time of year. We're already 3 weeks into October, and it already feels like it's sadly going by too fast.
I mean, yeah, this time just flies for us because we just like pack it in with all the events, all the things.
Yeah.
On top of, normal everyday jobs and
Which we
also
hate.
trying to make a movie at the same time.
This is true. We'll be referencing that a lot. But in the meantime, we are talking about a couple different events throughout spooky season. And I think we're really, as we've kind of gone into spooky seasons of the past and, living in Los Angeles, you get a lot of the same fare. We do Not Scary Farm, Universal's HHN, Queen Mary, So it's when we get the opportunity to find and look at some of these new haunts and immersive experiences, that's really exciting for us. And we're talking about one of those tonight. We're talking about Drowned Out Productions' People in the Dark, an immersive ghost story.
Yes, the title says it right away. Immersive ghost story is an immersive event. And we are huge fans of the immersive theater and immersive events, especially for spooky season. Yes. We get very hyped up about them.
Because I love it in here. I fucking love it!
We do.
And this one was, the first time we heard about this one was when we had attended Midsummer Scream,
Right.
which is a Halloween horror convention in
it's in
Long
Beach.
Beach.
It's
That's the
basically Southern California.
Yeah, it is like the biggest Halloween or horror convention in like the West Coast.
Yeah,
or
outside of
whatever.
Trans World, this is probably the next biggest
Yeah.
thing for haunts. And
100%. And so they had a woman that was like in all dark clothes, and she was handing out these photographs that looked like old timey famous headshots and with like the eyes like
scratched out, right?
Yeah. And Chris was able to grab one and was like, oh, and so of course immediately we were like, well, we should at least keep looking at it and see if this looks interestingly enough to check out,
Yeah, and I think the big part about immersive events is their marketing is so much more different than the big box ones. And I say that lovingly, of course, because we love HHN, we love Knott's, we love Dark Harbor, and we'll get to those later on the season. But when you first find an immersive event, their marketing is always a little unique, a little mysterious. It always leads you questioning, what is this? And it's obviously on purpose because they want you to follow their slow reveal towards what they're kind of coming out with and what they're doing in October. And it's interesting because like Jessica mentioned, that we had seen this, and honestly, the very first year I went to Midsummer, this is very similar to what JFI did. They had, I think there was like a group of people, and there was a woman with like a business card kind of holding it out in her hand. And it was similar to this. It actually reminded me a lot of that. I thought it was kind of
the Just Fix It Productions and specifically Creep LA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so their marketing campaign, it was very, People in the Dark is very similar to that. And I love that. I love that I'm not, it's not something jumping out. I know, I love that too, but I know for us, it's the immersive event space is becoming something we've kind of found and kind of been drawn to more and more as we've been out here, because it is a different type of vibe than the ones that I mentioned. But Drowned Out Productions, we first came across in Midsummer. Their marketing campaign was definitely something that caught our eye, because there was a bunch of these pictures with these eyes scratched out. Like there was quite a few of them, and this person who just sat there, didn't say a word, didn't move too much. I mean, they were in a hat that kind of covered their face, and they were dressed in I think it was like an old timey white, if I recall, like
I
an
thought
old.
she was in black still, but maybe not.
Maybe she was. We
But
went
it was-
3
it
days,
was
so maybe
very
she was in
old.
white one day and black another
Maybe,
day.
yeah, and her face was kind of veiled, basically, and things
Yeah.
like that.
Mysterious.
But anywho,
Yes.
shall we get into it?
Yes, let's do that. Are we gonna? I say we run the flag up because this year.
What we don't what
Well,
we
because-
can at least set up like
Okay.
give
All right.
give a little bit about it.
Okay.
He's always wanting to jump into
I
spoilers.
am. I really want to talk about this one.
But I mean, yeah, let's go ahead and start with like the setup, right? Like what
Yeah.
how did we where was this located? How,
So right, that's good too because in these immersive event spaces, it's not like they have a theme park they can just skin up and dress towards, for Halloween season. It's very different, and a lot of these times the spaces will move. The same company will have an event, and they'll be in a different location than they were last year because maybe the building is not available. And we should go back. A lot of these event spaces take place in vacant buildings, right?
Sure.
So. This one was no different. This
We're
one
in downtown
Los
LA.
Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was down, I believe, between two buildings in an alley.
basically an alley.
Yeah.
100%. You're like, you have to find parking. Then you have to like kind of take this trek down this alley where,
Yeah.
I mean, they are very specific in the directions that they give you for this event.
To the point that they gave us coordinates even. It wasn't even streets,
Yeah.
it was coordinates.
So that way, whatever maps, Google Maps, Apple, whatever you use, it's going to like get you there at least.
Yeah.
Which I think was important because it's like, otherwise, if you just look down this alley, you wouldn't necessarily have gone down it.
Yeah.
But they did set up they had some lights up and things like that. So at least you kind of, when you were getting closer, I was like, I think that's it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And
because-
they had this big blow up ghost thing and stuff.
And that's the other part of it. There wasn't like a storefront. There wasn't like any type of labeling. They had a Home Depot kind of cool little ghosting, and it was cool. Like in the middle of this alley, it felt like exclusive and a little bit dangerous. And
Definitely dangerous because then in the end, it literally was like a pop up tent. So they just have
Yeah.
like a pop up tent up. They had a couple of porta potties there in case you needed a restroom, which was still very kind, by the way. Because I think
Absolutely.
they could have absolutely been like, sorry, you got to deal with it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
But I will say, there was a moment where you first show up and you're like, what is this even going to be?
yeah,
Where are we going to go? What are we going to do?
we did sign the waivers so they could, you know what I mean? It's one of those
We
situations.
signed them before we arrived, like they suggested. And yeah, it was like, oh, okay, great. So here we are.
Yeah, it was a little. I was a little nervous about it, and when you first see it, and again, we've done other immersive events with obviously a higher budget, in terms of like their waiting area or their staging area. But from what I've got from their press release, and they were very kind to me. They sent me their press release in terms of what they kind of wanted to do and where they came from, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But this is their second offering, and their budget obviously is much less than some of the other immersive events around Los Angeles. But you know what I mean? It's to me about, never mind, I could check in on a card table under a tent. You know what I mean? But if what we're paying for is the experience, not the check-in experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
while that was a little, I wouldn't even call it off-putting. It kind of like, in a way, it was kind of dangerous, and I think that kind of made it exciting for me. I'm like, it felt raw, and
It did feel raw. I will say that. Like there was that moment where you're like, okay, we did come into something that might be newer, right? Or
Yeah.
it might be just starting out. And it felt very like, what is this going to lead to? So as long as you don't judge things too harshly from just the sights of it, there was
Yeah.
definitely, I think there was nerves for sure. There was the moment of like,
Yeah.
this could be, we're not quite sure.
And that Jessica had a moment, and I'll let her talk about it. But there was a moment on the first part of art when that kind of came up too.
Exactly.
But
I was like, this kind of continued for us.
Yeah.
They wanted you to show up 10 minutes early at least to make sure nobody's late, kind of a thing. And so once we got past that point and we're like 5 minutes out from the event, I'm like looking around and there's like nobody else there. And it's just me and Chris. And I'm like, where's the rest of our group? I was like, these people are going to be late. You know what I mean? And then sure enough, someone comes out, introduces themselves, and we start the damn show. So guess what? Me and Chris literally got to do this event completely on our own.
we call that exclusive VIP treatment.
We call that getting so lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
holy
actu-
crap, we were so excited.
That's what
The
it was.
excitement was like, we get this all for just us.
For people that have done a shit ton of haunted houses and immersive events and just horror space things, to be the only two people on this journey was fucking awesome. Like there was a moment where I think that was the moment when I got really excited. I'm like, we have the only attention that this, our
Yeah,
tour
this
guide
could-
was giving was to us.
Yeah,
it
this
was
could
so
be
cool.
Anything else?
Our tour guide's name was Taylor. I don't know if this is his real name or the name of the show, but he was fantastic. He was very
Yeah.
cordial. He's friendly, and
And I'm sure he has like a script he's following.
sure,
but
it's
he
gotta be
was-
loose though, right?
It's right both ways, right? Because that's what I'm saying is it's like I feel like he's still stuck enough to it because it made sense for what the story was doing, but it didn't feel like any kind of rehearsed going through it kind of motions.
Yeah, it didn't feel forced.
Yeah, we were having like what felt like real conversations
It
with this
did.
dude and stuff. It was
Yeah.
I really appreciated that. And he started us off on the Lost Legends Ghost Tour.
Right. And so again, it is in being in downtown Los Angeles, you kind of never know what you're going to get. And he even said that he's like, "Hey, we're in downtown LA.
Stick
Just watch your
together."
surroundings, stick
Yeah.
together." Which that to me was a little like, well, what the fuck are we doing here? Are we walking like on the street in our appointment? I believe our reservation, I think, was at like 10:30, I think, or 10:20.
10:20, yeah.
So 10:20 on a Sunday in downtown Los Angeles, it's you kind of know what you're going to get. So you got to watch your six in the situation. So the fact that he's telling us to do that, it's like, man, what do we
Yeah, and we start walking the streets of downtown
downtown
LA.
LA? Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah, so definitely there was a moment in here where I was like, oh my God, what did we sign up for? I didn't look enough into this event. Like Chris was the one booking it.
Yeah.
Again, it was brand new to us. We haven't seen this company or anything like that before. We knew a little bit about them. Like we always look up a little bit.
yeah, they have a really good Instagram presence for the most part for this. And then
Yeah.
they had a show, I think, last year that actually sold out. It looked great too. I didn't
Right.
get any notification about it. And usually I'm on top of the immersive shit. So when this came up, I jumped on it. Anyway, just to
Yeah,
get a little
and,
backstory.
and just saying, and like I'm a big I don't like spoilers kind of person. So even though there was reviews out there, I was really trying to kind of dodge them and not read too much. But funny enough, when I was trying to look up information about them, a review popped up, and like briefly, I had just noticed that it said something about Ghost Tour, and I was just like. So when we started this thing, and he said that it's the Lost Legends Ghost Tour, and they're talking about the golden era of like Hollywood
Yeah.
and LA, and that's basically what he starts going on, and we start going through that where he's pointing out historic buildings and things like that. I had such a moment where I was like, "Did we just book
Oh, wait, should I hit the spoiler
a
siren?
freaking ghost tour?"
Because we're kind of, I should.
I mean, this is just the intro, so I will say, I was like, that concern. It was okay in the end, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
This thing flipped around for me, and
Okay.
I'm very happy we went.
Yes. And now we're in the siren. now.
Let's run
All
the
right,
siren.
hit it.
Stick around.
All right. Everybody knows I like to tell the intimate details of everything we do in terms of what we're reviewing. But when going to these immersive events, before we get any further, it's best to go in knowing as little as you can, because they're if you've never done one, they're not like mazes. They're just so unique. They're so tailored. Jessica mentioned that our tour guide, he obviously had a script, but it's mostly improv. I mean, from what I've read about some of the individuals that I follow in terms of the immersive events, it's like 60% scripted, 40% improv. So it's
it kind of probably. I mean, this one almost felt like probably the flip side of that, in the sense that it's like he had, like, of course, he was actually pointing out buildings, like we saw, like the Mayan, which is like
the Mayan theater people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is bullshit or not. I need someone to Google
keep
this.
looking it up, and it's not. It looks like it's still open, but
I hope so.
But he was warning that they might have closed their doors for good, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But he's telling us, these historic stories and things like that. So of course those parts are going to be pretty scripted. But aside from that, like he maybe has certain questions he asks us or things to keep the conversation going.
Right.
But yeah, he absolutely has to respond to us however we talk about it, and
Yeah.
and it felt natural. It didn't feel.
Forced.
Yeah.
Then I want to go back to what you had been before we were in the siren up, where these walking ghost tours in Los Angeles, they're fun, they're great, but they're not for me. I wouldn't have chosen to
Right.
do a walking ghost tour at
We haven't-
10:20 on a Sunday. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just not for me, I don't think.
And we haven't done one necessarily in LA, but when we were in New Orleans, we went ahead
Well,
and
that's
did one.
different.
And it was still kind of cool, but I think we all got the vibes of like, hey, this is cool, but this is what every ghost tour is going to be, right? Like you're going
Yeah.
to hear some stories, see some cool things, whatever. It might be kind of spooky, legends stuff. We like storytelling, but
We do.
We went to an immersive event because of the fact that it's like you want to be immersed in the story. That's the whole point. We
Right.
want to know a story, but we want to be like in it. We want to feel like it's intimate and part of us.
It's a
And-
huge selling point for these immersive events for you to be part of that story. You're not like
Yeah.
walking through as an observer, as you know, they would tout like the other big box chains. This is very much you're involved in this. And again, with us, just Jessica and I being on this tour, we're thinking we're going to get like everything. We're not going to miss nothing.
Right.
So
But I was terrified.
it went from being really excited to being like very concerned
Yes.
in the
We
span
hit
of
like a
maybe
couple
10
of
minutes.
yeah, we hit a couple of buildings, and I was like, oh my god, what if this is the whole thing?
Yes.
What if the whole thing is just this? I
This-
will die.
Yeah, and there's like these. Of course, the factoids are interesting, and when we get to these buildings, our tour guide would have a flashlight and flip it underneath his chin, and he'd give us a creepy, like, you know, maybe they're still in there haunting this place type of thing, right? Very, very gentle fare. And so this goes on for I think 2. We get 2 or maybe 3 stories, and they are interesting because
Yeah.
you know, again, I don't know if he's being truthful or not, but he said he was an actor. Jessica's also an actor, and so you know, we're talking about some of these famous people in Hollywood who had the opportunity to be in these things, and then for whatever reason, you know, tragically perished, whether suicide or was relegated to never acting again. These stories about they'd be great to have over a beer,
Yeah.
but not when we're in immersive event space, right? So we go through a couple of these stories, and you know, we I think it felt like a couple of blocks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're in downtown LA walking around.
Yeah, we
and
crossed some streets and stuff.
yeah,
You know.
got turned around, had no idea where I was. We're walking down another dilapidated street with lots of closed storefronts, very normal fare for downtown LA. And our tour guide he stops and he starts waxing poetic about this other actor who had this.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's funny because he's kind of like, okay, this isn't really like a stop on the tour. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it's funny because of the fact that it was just the two of us, this felt even more like, you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of moments that I was like, the way he played this felt so on the nose for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's letting us into this little secret or whatever because it's just the two of us. Like it kind of felt like that.
Yeah.
Which just worked for it. But yeah, it's like we stop at this building and it's just like you can see in through the window and you can tell it's just got plastic wrap up and things like that. And it's just being used for storage, it's not being used. But yeah, he does start talking and telling us about this actor and her story and how, you know, she had a very tragic ending basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just kind of cool. He's kind of like looking into the building. And
Yeah,
things
he's like
that.
peeking in through like a storefront, and we can see that there are like mannequins that are covered with plastic drop. Like it looks like it's one of those condemned buildings that at one point had a fire, right? And then this is what's left over inside of it. And so I think this is when you had to know at this point this is when it kind of started, right? Like you had to
There's at least
know.
something like it's like when he stopped and he was like, okay, this isn't really a part of the tour, but
like, do you guys
you know what I
wanna-
mean? Like you kind of are like, okay, are we getting juicy? Is this when it's happening?
Yeah.
And sure enough, he does. He like leans or he kind of hits on like the front door a little bit and it just opens.
And this is what we said.
You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
I think he said something like, "Should we go inside?"
He
And
did. He did. It was like the full pause of like the door open, and he was like, "Oh my god, it's open!" And then he did. He's like, "Should we go in?" And I can't tell you. Chris said, "Yeah, like hell yes!" Like he's like jumped toward it.
I couldn't get it out of I couldn't say it fast enough. I couldn't get in there fast enough.
I know. I was like, I wonder how other people responded. Like, there's probably some people who were like, I don't think we should, or you know what I mean. But
Little
it's like
nervous.
Chris was 100% beyond. Like, if he hadn't said it, Chris was gonna be like, "Let's go in."
Yeah, let's take a look what's going around. And so it really felt like, I'm gonna just backpedal for a second. It really felt like this thing was 2 parts. The first part was the tour to lead into this part. This
Yeah.
felt like the experience that we all kind of thought we would get from the beginning. But I loved how it entered. It felt inorganic but organic at the same time, and it felt dangerous and fun. Like all of these mix of feelings. I once we walked through that door, I got so excited. I'm
Yeah.
like, we are in it now.
I got scared. It was
did get
creepy.
scared.
We walked.
Set the scene.
we walk in and it's covered in plastic wrap and there's way more mannequins than I knew of because I saw one maybe through the window kind
Oh,
of a
you only
thing.
saw one?
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know what I mean? It was a lot of things were covered, but we go in and there's like a bunch more, and
There's no lights either. The only light's from the flashlight.
Yeah, exactly. And he's using a flashlight that he's been using on his tour the whole time. You know what I mean? And so it's like it started getting really creepy to me. There was like even like a mannequin that was, all painted black and stuff that was behind one that just looked like a shadow, and
You
it was
said
terrible.
you're like,
it was
"There's
behind
someone- there's
plastic.
someone back
I literally
there."
yeah, when I passed it, I was like, there's someone there. Because it was just another mannequin. But
The set deck was fantastic. I love that it was dark. I love that it felt empty, but also congested, if that makes sense, where it's just three of us. But because there were so many mannequins and they were layered with this plastic wrap, it felt like in typical horror movie / haunt like fare, you're expecting someone to be under this, there to be a person like instead of the mannequins, and your expectation I think works against you in that moment, and they have to know that. But it was so effective when the three of us, and again, just having three of us was so great because
I think you can go up to 8 probably.
was it 8? It might be 8. It
At
makes
least,
sense.
Yeah, at least when I looked around, there was like sometimes enough chairs for 8 people, kind of a
Oh, I see.
thing. So, and I gotta say, like the setup again for this, it worked well because it's like we were having conversations with Taylor and things like that. Like we were kind of getting
I
into
hope
it.
his
and
name is Taylor. It is, right?
that's what he gave us.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
with you.
Okay,
I don't know if
okay.
it's a character name or his real name, but yeah, our guy Taylor. Because the same, he kept saying he was a working actor, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of work right now and things like that. And
All
then-
that's true. Like,
yeah, I gotta say the whole story, like once we get into like more of this, it's like everything was really crafted to make sense. And even like having that intro kind of part or whatever of like the ghost tour, I think it's like you do get comfortable with this dude and you're making
Oh, good
jokes.
point.
And then it's like, so when he goes into an abandoned building and he's like, do you want to come with? You're like, okay.
let me first.
Yeah, and this is of course it starts getting creepy. He is so into it. He is such a fan of the old and the actors and all that stuff. So he is like freaking out. We walk into this place and he's like, you can feel the history, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's so excited. He finds this poster on the ground that's for a movie and he says, oh, if she had, the specific actor he mentioned,
yeah.
if she had been, this was supposed to be her penultimate movie and, but it just didn't work out and it's blah, 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 or whatever, like telling us the story. And we start going like a little bit deeper into the plastic area. And then he's doing such a good job of
Well, hold on. Go back real quick. So
Go ahead.
at this point, fog was starting to come out. There was a little bit of fog. So you get the atmosphere in the room. So you're getting these
there's
deep
definitely, he had some like triggers to get like music going and things
Yeah.
like that and fog and atmosphere like while he's telling the story.
And so
that we get like cues of him talking, but then like a rise in the music or something at certain points.
Well, but not just that too. Like when we walk into the area, like they're in some like the atmosphere kind of creates. So you get a little bit of fog. The shadows become deeper, and also, but just to go back to it, like his love of the actor. Again, he did it so well. His love of this actress. Underneath some of the plastic wrap are some clothes on these mannequins.
That's what I'm talking about. We started going a little deeper.
Oh, that was when we first got there. When we first walked
No,
in.
not yet. We only had and then it's like once he found the poster, then we started moving through and he starts going up to these mannequins that have clothes and he's looking at them and being like, look at the texture of this, look at this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's when we first walk in, I think.
No, when we first walk in, I had to hold the light and it was flashing out this thing. I'm telling you. And he had like a music cue thing that happened. And then we started moving it through. When we went through around the corner was where there was like the first outfit and then the second one. And then we get to the vanity mirror. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was the area we start to go into because the third outfit is like the black dress and stuff. And then, so that's why I'm saying it led into it. But I gotta say, like the pacing of it, he does a good job in the fact that we're in this small area, but then he's also like stopping us on these things. And with the flashlight alone and things like that, we're just looking right at what is there. And so you know what I mean? If all the lights were on, you would get a good look at everything. But they do such a good job with the atmosphere that it's like we're looking right where they want us to look. And so this one thing is revealed, then the next thing, when he's ready. And then we come upon like the black dress and he's like, oh, this costume or whatever. Like, and it's so interesting the way he like revealed it slowly to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, going through the costumes, you can kind of tell like he's building up this actor and this experience. And I think that was, when I say experience, I mean the actor's experience in the story, which I think him building that the way he did was fantastic. I remember it differently, but I think that's what's great about these immersive events. It's because like you're so in it and it's difficult to remember afterwards, like how it went. And I love the fact that he was so loving of like to touch the material. It's perfect. It's this, it's that, it's the other. As we're walking through this dilapidated warehouse with these mannequins that are covered in this plastic drop in the darkness, only lit by this guy's flashlight. It's just so, it's the love coming from the actor or the guy towards the actress is one thing, but then to have it be in such an uncomfortable situation because the shadows are deep, and Jessica and I are the only light we have is from this guy's flashlight, and it's on the costume, and as he lovingly does this, I think this is where kind of he transforms, right? Like he kind of feels that he gets to the vanity and he's waxing poetic about how great this actor was, and Jessica and I are watching him through the mirror, and he starts speaking as the actor, as the actress.
Yeah,
right?
there's like
he
a
transforms.
switch that happens. And they did have, like effects with lights and things like that that kind of helped us and triggered us too.
Very smooth. Yeah. That was a very smooth way of doing it.
Yeah, but it was great. He does. It's like he gets possessed by her, basically.
That's a better word, yeah.
Yeah, and so then we get to see him, but talking about like he's her and why wasn't she good enough and things like that, and the people loved her, but all this stuff like that. So it's very interesting and very intriguing. We follow him a little bit deeper, but in no time, he basically has a complete
breakdown.
Yeah, like he's at first like it's we go into an area and there's like the clapping, the audience and things like this, but then eventually he takes off. He just runs out.
Fucking leaves us. So there's nothing more terrifying than being in a dark space with no light and your guide is gone.
Just gone.
Like. The fact is, me and Jessica makes it even more terrifying because
we have to rely on each other to be like, what now?
Yeah, we just stood there for a second.
But this place, they did such a good job with it because it's like, again, the lights start to shift. And then it's like they're kind of lighting up this hallway, which is where he like took off to. But it's kind of like the fact that the lights turned on. It like felt like the whole, okay, go this way.
Right, leading us on
was
our path.
Beckoning us.
Yes. And it was a red light too. Ooh. Yeah, I loved it. They had this. I think the walls were lined with what was on the walls? Was it balloons?
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet?
Yeah, maybe.
I thought there were some balloons, and you're going down this very sharp, narrow hallway.
Because it still had like the plastic wrap, but you're right, there was like balloons and stuff behind it.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this?
So and there is a descent. We know our guide has gone on to the mad side, and so like in the experience, it's possible that I'm thinking this is our descent into madness. And so that to me in the set design and the crafting of the story was bananas. I loved it so much. And again, it's just me and Jessica. So as brave as we think we are, we're holding each other for dear life right now. Like we're shoulder to shoulder going down this narrow hallway that and it razorbacks very quickly. You're going back and forth lit by this red light. You always know where to go, but there's barely enough light to feel comfortable. Like I never felt comfortable, but I knew where to go.
Yeah, agreed. Like they did such a good job of that.
Yeah.
Until you come upon another room that has all the lining of like all those photos we talked about that like the when they were doing their advertisement, I guess at Midsummer.
Yeah.
It's like all those like there's famous looking golden era people.
It was fucking scary.
All over the walls, yeah. And it is like you're walking in, you're just looking at that. And because you're looking at that, you miss what's like directly in front of you on the ground.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, hold on. But the room itself, I want to talk about the room just really quick because words can't convey how uncomfortable walking into this open room of nothing but just pictures layered on top of each other with, like I said, these golden era actors and actresses with their eyeballs scratched
just
out.
Missing. Like they're in white. Like they've been like pulled away from the picture.
Right. Or like etched out or something.
Yeah, but like white, not like black scratched
That's true.
out, you know what I mean?
That's true. And so you're looking and it's so uncomfortable because of how grandiose it is. And there's just want to reference a movie called The Beautiful Mind, and there's a very specific part in the movie, and people that have seen it will know what I'm talking about. It's when his wife walks into like the back shed, and all of the entire wall is lined with, I think, like letters or pictures or papers. It's very stunning and it's horror. And it was the same exact feeling that I got walking into this room, but we are there in person. And so you're right. We're looking at the walls, and the the fan in you is like, did they do this whole thing? Like, is this just like wallpaper? You're like, no, they actually did all this. So you're appreciating the set deck, which is hard because in these events, Jessica and I will do that. In any event, when it comes to haunted stuff, well, the lighting, the set deck, but immersive events specifically, because as we've said and we will say, these are basically like you're in a movie. So you appreciate these things because it relates so closely to what we do.
Yeah.
So anyway, like you had mentioned, and I cut you off, you don't actually see what's right in front of you. So
Sitting on the ground is a lady in the exact like outfit that we talked about. That was like a black, old timey, almost kind of flapperish sort of look to it, with a black hat on, and it has like these tassels that come down, so it looks like she's very veiled, but because it's kind of skewing her face. But she's just sitting on the ground like cross-legged. Looking at, I think, some of the photos and things like that.
yeah.
But she has her back to you. Like she's looked towards it, facing a door with her back to you, basically. But it was very startling when we saw her because it's like the lights were low enough and kind of they would dim in and out. Like that was the thing they were doing where they would get kind of dim and come back up. And so it was one of those moments where it kind of went dim and came back up. And then that's when I saw her, where I was like, almost like she appeared kind of a thing.
It's a great use of the space and in storytelling because it's very much magician's trick, right? You're looking all over the room, and then when you actually look where you probably should look, that's when this thing has probably been here the whole time.
Yeah.
But you're just now noticing it because you haven't looked in that direction yet.
I gotta say, I feel like this group did that really well, where it's like the magician's trick thing. They just, like I said, they knew how to get you to look at something specific. You know what I mean? It was never, so as much as Chris says, we are the type of people that like to look around and appreciate things and stuff. I had the hardest time doing that in this event because of the fact that I felt so immersed. And maybe it was, again, that there was just the two of us or something, because it was like there was less people, if there's more people that they can just focus on and look around and talk to, you might be like, oh, the focus is off of me. I can look around a little bit. Yeah. But I did not get that opportunity at all in this. So there's so many things I would have, if I could go back, I would go and be like, I really wanted to check this out more, because it felt like the whole time that this, like every room we go into, because we're going to go into more, right, is like head to toe decorated or touched. We talk about sometimes when we go into these mazes that are at these theme parks, sometimes they don't do anything with the roof. Like it's just wide open.
Oh, that's true.
And it's like, if you look up, you're kind of like, oh, okay.
See
There's
the
nothing
rafters
there.
and the AC units.
Yeah. And it's, but it's like, that was not the case with like this one at all. Everything felt like it was on point.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. Like, honestly, thinking back to it, I don't know if I'm sure the walls didn't go all the way to the ceiling, but it felt like they did. And I'm sure like the pictures didn't go all the way to the ceiling, but it felt like they did. Like, I mean, I believe for 100%. I mean, I couldn't tell you if they didn't, because you know what I mean? So
I know
that's
in
a great
later
way.
rooms they definitely did. Like
Yeah.
there was times I could look up a little more and was like, whoa, this is covered.
Yeah.
So
And,
yeah.
the interaction. So, okay, so we get up. So now we've basically picked up the second actor in the immersive event. And this is the actress that the tour guide has been fawning about.
Yeah,
So-
exactly right. She's wearing the same exact outfit that he was fawning over. So you kind of get right away that you're like, this is her.
This is her. Yeah.
And she stands up and grabs my hand and pulls me through the door, pulling us essentially through the door.
Right.
And at first it's very creepy. It's very, you know what I mean? And then the door closes behind us with us in the room with her. And then she's like, it's like we've jumped into a different time zone, basically.
Yeah, there was it felt like celebration. There were
Yeah.
streamers, there were some balloons.
She gave us names, like I was Amy and you were somebody else or whatever. And she was talking about how we hadn't seen each other in so long. And
I love that too, by the
I
way.
know.
Like that's so great. I mean, it must be great for them too to only have two names to remember, not a whole fucking group of like 8 or 9 people. It's like, I'm sure she only picked 1 or 2 people that she could, but I mean, it must be great for the actor to kind of give us their energy and then us to receive it. But I forgot about that part. You're right. But it was. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah, she just, very greeting and very like, how's it going? And especially business, like we're supposedly a part of the business, whether I think she said maybe we were actors or producers or something else, right?
I think we were producers because
we're in the biz.
Yeah, we are friends that are in the biz, which coincidentally we are in the biz. Yeah, it was. And did you notice that they had her face painted like really white and her lipstick really red? Mm-hmm. So it made her look almost ghastly in that sense. I kept thinking to myself.
Again, the tassels were kind of like also always like in front of her face.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of skewed, but yeah, underneath it, I'm with you.
Yeah. It was almost like You know, it's funny, the wide brim hat she has. If anybody's seen, I think the second Poltergeist, or maybe even the first one, it's the Reverend, where he wears the same type of hat, except this one has tassels. You know, that's what I mean. So,
Copy.
and also her face being so white and her lips being so red, it's like it's almost spectral-ish, you know. And I think they were lighting her with this really bright, either bluish or white spot. That was kind of her key. I'm talking about in the set now, and just it always felt like when she smiled so wide, it was almost like she was an evil smile.
It's
You know, it was
ghostly.
Yes,
The
but
whole
but
thing,
evil
right?
ghostly, right? Not like the wide grinning ghost that you see in the night.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which,
so.
to be fair, like Taylor, our guide, had told us ahead of time what her like demise and story was.
Yeah.
So there is already an element of that to it. You know what I mean? So going into it, you kind of were like, as much as I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in it right now. It is, yeah, there is an edge to her, right?
Yeah. Because you kind of know how the story's going to end, or at least,
Mm-hmm.
are you part of that ending or what? So like all the questions that like you had at the beginning are starting to come to the forefront. Again, great. You mentioned this after, you know, we were driving home and like debriefing on it. They did a really good job telling their story. And this is just kind of, you know, a tribute to that, because all those things that you thought might, you know, like have happened, or you're kind of in it now. Like you could
Yeah.
be part of that. And again, being part of it, going back to these immersive events, you always want to feel like you're part of the show. And I feel like this one definitely did that for us, and especially for Jessica. The character actually gave Jessica a paper to read, like lines.
She was
like,
talking about the script she wrote and how she wants to act in it, and it is
Yeah.
her biggest.
this is it, right?
Yeah, this is her like
Yeah.
big final whatever. I don't know. She was just talking about it being huge and stuff, and everyone wants to see her on screen again, and this and that. But of course, we can't tell anybody about it or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, she had me read a little bit of it. But she did not like my reading.
She did not.
I
She
was not
actually-
passionate enough, and I didn't have.
But what? Hold on. What do we need?
Fucking fire! Fuego! Pasión! Go!
Passion.
So there was some of that was lacking. But also, what did she say? There was the mid Atlantic accent.
Yeah. She was like, and where did your mid-Atlantic accent
How
go?
funny, right?
Which
From the
was
actor from the
really
40s.
funny.
Or,
Yeah, totally. I was like, to jump back through that time, you were like, oh, yeah, fair enough.
But I thought that was so cool. And again, that goes back to, I think, feeling like you're part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And they did do that. And so after Jessica this wasn't, you weren't going to star, but they were going to have you in the movie at some point.
Yeah. And we do get to see, like, again, it feels ghostly and weird, like you've gone back in time or that you are seeing different things, because we're having this interaction. But then she does start to kind of, like, again, go into herself almost and having these little moments. And she starts to talk about the fact that she's like, is this where she starts to talk about that? It's like, oh yeah, she had a meeting, but it's like she's going to submit this and he's going to make it and it's going to be great or whatever. But then she starts to get really dark because she's all like, she's not hearing from him and things like that.
Yeah, I think it is, because then we go into the other room.
Yeah.
So we're getting the monologue, or we're getting the side of the story on what prompted her to commit the event that ultimately led to her demise.
Yeah.
Right? We're kind of like a fly on the wall for that ship.
Yeah. She does invite us into another room and have us sit. It was funny. She told us to sit, and you were like looking around and stuff.
Yeah, again, it's
and she had to like tell you again. Like she was like, "Sit,
Sir, please sit.
like excuse." It was so funny.
They did a great job in the room. It felt very different than where we had been. It felt different than the beginning part of it with all the
party.
mannequins, and
Oh,
then
yeah, those things
the
too.
red room, and then the walls,
And then the party.
and then the party. Like it felt very different. And right now at this point, we know that this was going to be her big break. We know that she's already reached out to the director, who says that, or the producer that says that he loves her and wants to have her back, and she's excited. And then, like you said, she goes dark, and we go in here. We sit down, and then another element of interactivity comes in where there's a movie that starts.
Yeah, where we're sitting, it does have a projection kind of screen set up. And so even with her going in through her thing, it does start the movie, and it's like the title of the script that she had, and then she gets to find out that they did make the movie. They just completely stole it from her. They
Yeah.
didn't put her in it. They stole her script, like all that kind of stuff. No credit goes to her, and they made this movie.
Like, just it's that just for the people that don't know, I'm also a writer. I am terrified of that. I don't tell anybody my stories. It's hilarious. Ever since I was young, I've never told anybody about my stories for fear of this exact thing. So I this hit hard with me, and there was one where like this is why you don't do that. You know what I mean? It's like that. But but there was a real Birdman moment too, where she says she has a revolver, and I guess apparently this in the sense of the play, the guy shows up, right, or the producer,
Right.
or she's talking to him, and I don't know.
His name was like Duval or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Which isn't there the saying like I'm ready for my close up, Mr. Demel.
Demel, it was
That's
Demel.
Yeah. Like there's that saying, right? So maybe
Yeah.
I have to look into this and see exactly how much truth is taken from this or
I
fiction.
know, right?
Cecil DeMille, I think. I don't know. I'm gonna
Yeah.
sound poorly educated
I
in
think
movie
you're
history.
right. I think that was, yeah. Anyway, so he knocks on her door or something. They did a good job with this where she's very upset. And then she, you're in this room as she's having basically this conversation where, of course, you can't see him and stuff, but she does have a revolver out and she is pointing it in a certain direction. And you know what I mean? And it's very frightening. Like, it's very unhinged.
It was unhinged. The actor did a great job in that moment because it's just basically them reacting to the
A wall.
silhouette. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it was cool because the projection screen, of course, is changing, and we're starting to get like a shadow behind her and stuff. Which,
yeah.
it feels very, like it's him or not and stuff. Basically, what we found out, from Taylor and from what happens in front of us is that she does shoot him and then kill herself, basically, right?
I think that she just kills herself. But again, I remember, you might be right. I don't remember that part of it, but it makes sense that she would kill him and herself, like a
Yeah.
joint suicide thing.
But she kind of like, in the weird immersive world, sort of like, takes off on us. Like it goes kind of dark or whatever. But then
It goes really dark.
it
Not
goes-
kind of dark.
it goes
fucking
full
dark.
blackout. And then we get all these weird things happening.
Yeah, I forget where exactly. Obviously, she comes where towards the screen was at, but like runs at us, and she's now
Yeah.
fully cloaked. Like she's wearing like a
It's like this black trench coat kind
Yeah.
of thing going on. And we have terrible music and terrible lighting. And she just,
with terrible in the sense that it's evoking a horrible, terrifying feeling. Not
Yeah,
that it's
it's
bad.
eerie and
Yeah,
awful in the sense of like feeling wise. Yes, you're absolutely right.
yeah.
And it's funny because she like bursts
Fucking
basically through the screen, like the screen's kind of moved or whatever, but either way, like she comes from there directly towards us.
Yeah,
And
that
directly
was-
towards Chris more than anything.
That was very uncomfortable for me. I thought she was gonna run us over.
She was basically on all fours.
She was on all
right?
fours. Yes, I was gonna
Just
say that.
freaking,
Like a
put
feral animal
yeah,
almost.
and she was. That's exactly it. It was very feral, and she was moving around and being crazy and getting in your face and stuff like that. It was freaky.
It was great. I loved
Great.
it. It was such like a great kicker at the end of
yeah,
it, right? And so
yeah.
so then after that, she just kind of takes off in the darkness, and then I think we hear a knock, right? Or
The lights kind of start to come back on, and like there's someone behind the screen, and we're hearing like, "Oh my god, I hope they're in there."
Yeah.
You guys, you guys. You're right. And then someone has to like open up like a garage door kind of thing. It sounded like, at least, right, or like some sort of
something like that. Yeah, something like that.
And it's our tour guide Taylor.
Taylor's back.
And he's like, "Oh my god, there was one moment you guys were with me, and I turned around and you guys were just gone." And so we get to come for full circle where we step out, and he gets very, first he's just like, "Don't take off on me like that," and then he's like, "We can't tell my boss.
Yeah.
We can't tell my boss what we did." And
Taylor was great.
yeah,
Taylor did a great job. He
Taylor
says
did
that's
a
what we have
great
to
job.
say.
Tell the
that.
boss that Taylor did a great job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so
And it's funny, and
Well,
it's good.
And what's so good, and it is funny and good. We end up coming out where our check-in was.
Literally.
So like we had
we
basically
went through a whole building and didn't realize it.
I had no idea, and so all this whole ghost tour we made. I felt like across like 3 streets. We went to 2 blocks, and all at the same time we just basically made a fucking circle. And as we exited the maze, we exited where we first checked in, which I thought to me was great because I never clocked where we were going in sense
Yeah.
of where we're at. So the story was compelling in that sense, where that awareness, which
Yeah.
is it's important. Like you're in downtown LA. I mean, I tend to be aware of my, where I'm going anyway. It was completely lost on me. So it was again like a magic trick. Like, hey, you thought you were here, but all along you just were you right where you started. I thought that was fucking great.
It was really cool. And I always appreciate, because there's something I'll say about some of the other immersive events we go to. Every once in a while, you get to the end of the story, and it's like, as you, like, you basically just exit out and you're like back to the beginning or wherever, you know, this is your exit.
It's abrupt, right?
But it feels abrupt. Like, you don't feel like you hit the end of the story. This one felt like, you know, like you wrapped it up. Like
Yeah.
because the fact that he came back, the fact that we had a little bit of a huddle, even if it was a silly, like, hey, promise me that, you know, you're not going to tell anyone this happened. Which, by the way, are we breaking that promise right now? Sorry, Taylor.
Yes, but he is great. Taylor was great. So.
So that was great. So there's that where it's like this one felt like it wrapped around really, really nicely.
Yeah.
Did you feel like throughout, did you feel very like immersed in all of it?
Yeah.
Because I mentioned, I felt like I couldn't even check things out because I was so immersed.
I
at
think
times.
that's great. And I do think that, again, obviously us being the only two people on this tour, and I think it was because it was later. I don't want to say that it's not doing well because it should definitely do well. Because we went later on a Sunday, I think there was that kind of thinned out
That's
the
true.
herd, right?
10:20 on a Sunday is like
It's late.
Yeah, it's a late time for
Yeah.
a lot of people, which is purposely why we go to those
That's
times.
true too. You're trying to avoid the people.
Because we're like, we can deal with that. But so it worked out for us.
I did feel immersed. I felt immersed from the beginning, even if it was a ghost tour, I'm like, all right, fuck it. This is what it is. He was a funny guy. These are interesting factoids. We're walking on downtown LA. It's cool, whatever. Then as we got into the location,
Yeah.
I 100% felt immersed. When
I'm
even
with
when we
you.
were looking at like the spaces, I'm a huge nut for these spaces. And then even when we got separated from him and got handed off to the actor,
Right.
oh man, I loved it. Did you?
Yes, agreed. Like I said, I wasn't even able to look at the elements I normally would look at. Other than I did realize, like I said, when we were alone, because we got left alone a couple of times.
Yeah.
And at least one of them for sure we had to progress ourselves. The other one, I think we did get a little bit of a beckoning to go ahead and go through.
Right.
But that was probably the only time that I, you know, could even sort of be like, oh my God, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Because without just like being in it.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciated. Did you feel scared at all? Was it scary
I
to
don't
you?
know if
What
it
kind of
was-
scary rating would you give it?
So like, I don't know, if we're doing 10, I would say maybe 6. I don't think I was ever scared.
Yeah.
But I don't
You got
think
you got a little jump at you.
a little jump. But I think I was more scared when I realized we had lost Taylor, and you and I had to go down this hallway
That was
together.
creepy.
Yeah, it was a matter of not knowing.
Yeah.
Because it went from this ghost tour to being in the middle of a very cool fucking set that was very unnerving, to losing our tour guide, to at this point being self-guided from that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, you know, that to me was scary and exciting, and maybe that's the point of all this.
Probably. Like I said, I got really creeped out and freaked out when we first went into there.
Really?
Yeah. Like I told you, it was
The mannequins?
Well, no, just like it's still, I guess I must have been immersed enough or whatever that
Yeah.
it's like, this is a space we're not supposed to be in. But it also was like, yeah, we're officially, like when we were on the streets of LA, it was like, okay, like we know what to expect as far as whatever dangers could be, I guess.
That's true.
But it's like, then we just walked into this building and I'm like, it's completely out of my hands now. Like we're in a crowded space with plastic wrap everywhere. I don't know. And they're mannequins. What's real and what's not? I don't know. I had that thought so many times where I was like, I can't see these mannequins unless
that's
he lights
true.
them up.
That's
So
true.
I don't know if they're gonna move. I
Did
don't know
you
if they're
think-
not.
did you think
Oh,
it-
100%. I had moments
Yeah.
that's why I said I thought the freaking one of them was a person. And then,
Yeah.
you know. So I thought for sure. So that worked really well on me. But yeah, it wasn't like, oh my God, scary, like paralyzing. But I had the like, I would have jumped and had little yips and stuff.
I
Like,
think for these immersive events, and there is one in here that we might do, they can't be really paralyzingly terrible.
yeah,
Like,
because you have to move through it, right?
Yeah.
And so I do feel like that. I feel like this was on par with any other immersive event where you want to feel some sort of fear.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we really got to talk about the value of this
Man,
guy.
that's the biggest thing about this.
I can't tell you guys, immersive events usually cost so much. It's the one thing. I love immersive theater stuff. I always am telling people about it and always I'm like, yeah, you should check it out. And then almost everybody who actually looks into it will be like, holy crap, it's over $100 to go do this thing.
Yeah.
Like, and that is the thing that freezes them. And I get it because we've had moments where we've been to immersive events and if it doesn't hit that year, you're like, shit, do I go the next year?
Yeah.
Because it's a big price tag.
So I want to talk about that just really quick. I'm going to add to your point, but I'm going to give some numbers really quick. And Eric will be proud of this, and I got to do this real quick because
What? Who?
That's the money corner. That's Chris's money corner from Eric.
where?
From Eric Azana from Geek Explained. We go way back.
Geek Explained
Geek Explained
podcast.
Yes.
Oh, Money Corner. Okay.
Yeah, it's my money corner. So you talked about some of the bigger immersive events that we actually did or have done in the past. So Willow's, run by Just Fix It Productions, that's $250 a ticket. $250 for one person to go. Delusion.
Willow's does give you food and drinks, and I think it's a good amount of drinks throughout the night.
I mean, it's
we
watered
have been
down.
there,
But
it's not watered down. Some of it's just straight. It's all straight wine.
Even then, it's so hard to fucking.
you can probably get a whole bottle of wine there if you. Anyways, it. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I just want to say there is a little more to it.
Right. And then Delusion, which you've did this year, was $124 at its entry level ticket. At its next level ticket, which is just, I think if you can get in a little bit earlier, it's $159.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. I'm like, and Delusion is one of those where you're not getting an extra drink or food or anything like that.
This is getting you to the door.
Yeah, and like I said,
Like-
that's pretty on par for most immersive events. Is they're a little over $100.
Yeah.
So and like that, you're right. That one has even gone up technically.
Yeah. People in the Dark, though, $69.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this event is $69, y'all. Even right now, I just looked it up. They're putting it on for 15% off.
Yeah. And we're not,
Go to their Instagram, like the Drowned
was
Productions.
it Drowned Out Productions?
Drowned Out Productions. Their Instagram has like a code for 15% off. So I
Through
think
the rest of the season, too, not just for the weekend, to the rest
so I
of the
think
season.
that brings it down to like $60 kind of a thing with like the fees and all that or
We're
whatever.
bad at math, but they got calculators.
But Jesus Christ, people, that's half the price of what Delusion is.
yeah.
And like honestly, I'm pretty sure they're the same amount of time that we spent in
Oh,
there.
yeah. You do track this.
I always track
Our,
time. I
our
can't tell you
Delusion
guys.
reviews coming, but just
I track time because here's the thing. Like at some point in going to these events, sometimes they do feel short or sometimes they feel long or whatever. And I just want to know the sense of what it actually runs because that sometimes talks to the story, right? It speaks to the story.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch a movie and you go, God, this movie is so long. And then you realize it is only like an hour and 30 minutes. You're like, that means there's probably a bad story or
Right.
like slow, you know what I mean?
Right.
Versus if it actually was like a 2.5 hour movie, they're like, okay, yeah, it's a long movie, you know? So I did want to, this one, I did say it felt short to me, like, but in the sense that I wanted it to be longer. Like I really, especially the second half, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I want this to be so much longer. I think because we were two people, it went faster than it probably would. They quote it to be 50 to 60 minutes for this event.
Oh, okay.
It took us about 40, like a 40, 45 was how long it took us to go through this.
I mean, that makes sense. If our guy Taylor is talking to
8 people.
8 people
versus 2.
right? I mean,
Yeah, then it makes sense that it's like 2 people can move through this a lot faster. Even just the walking through the hall, like when we get left alone, is going to go so much faster. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So getting us into spaces alone will save 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and like again, we'll get to Delusion and stuff, but Delusion hasn't. The last time I went, it wasn't an hour long. With the amount of like again, probably 8 people, 10 people. Usually it's
Yeah.
10, I think, for that one.
it might be 10 for that one.
Yeah.
We can check that.
And so I'm just saying, like, this is crazy that it's like half the price.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't done any immersive events and you just want to see
Oh,
what
this
it is,
This is a great toe wetter.
this feels like this is such a good toe wetter.
Yeah.
Like, and we really enjoyed it beyond it being a toe wetter. But I
Yeah.
just like, I have that thought where I'm like, dude, I would love to go back and like bring more people to this.
we
Because
we
it's-
still might.
We still might
Yeah.
for reals. It was so fun.
It was a great experience. Honestly, it was what they did with what they had is so impressive. And again, I say that coming from someone who's been in LA for 8 years and doing haunted events for that long. But it's just, you could tell that every penny that they had, they put on into their set. And it
Yes.
felt like it. It felt so good.
Yes.
It felt fresh. It felt dangerous. It felt fun, exciting.
all of that. I 100% agree because it's like I would expect for that price tag for them to not have a lot of budget
Oh,
to
God,
put
yeah.
into their sets. It did not feel like that. We didn't walk into these sets and be like, oh, this is budget friendly sets. You know what I mean?
Right.
It did not feel like that. Like again, and they had the effects and the music and everything. Like it just, there wasn't a room I went into and just thought, oh, this is just like a space, like a holder or, you know,
Yeah.
like never felt like that.
Yeah.
It felt like, oh, I'm in a different area, a different zone, a different whatever. Like I felt transported. And
Yeah.
that's what you want.
Exactly, right? That you want to feel something different. You want to be immersed in this world they created. And I don't want to beat a dead horse about it, but for the value, first of all, they could charge way more, and they'll probably change. I hope they're around for a while, because again, you always worry about these up and coming companies, and that there were a couple last year. Angel of Light, I think 3 years ago, was a great one that just kind of fell off, but Drowned Out Productions, I hope that they stick around for a while, because you can tell this is their sophomore offering, and if this is what they did in their sophomore offering with the shoestring budget, I can only imagine what they do 2 years from now with a budget times 3.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. I hope they stick around too, because I really enjoy it. Like, I can't say enough about the story in general too, because that's the whole thing. Even though we kind of said that, like Chris said, it was almost 2 segments where it was like the ghost tour, and then we were in the warehousey whatever. It's not a warehouse, but we were in like a building. Those 2 segments fit together so perfectly. Like, every time I look back at this event, I kind of like, even us talking about it and reliving it, I'm like, it makes sense. Like, his whole character being so into like this golden age and knowing all these stories and doing, you know what I mean? It was like, there's so many times what he's talking about, the fact that he is an actor and things like that.
It's
like,
relevant. That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, there's so many moments of things that they've crafted into the story that like make sense as you keep going along. And I really enjoyed that. So it felt so natural when, even though like, we were like being like, oh, I think, as Taylor arrives to this last location, tells us it's not really part of the tour, but let's talk about this area. And we kind of were like, is this going to be it? Is this not, I think it still fits so well with it, because it's like, this is some random building, but even as we're in it, he's talking about the history and he's looking at the costumes.
Yeah.
And it's like all those
He's
moments.
doting on it,
Yes.
He's doted on Hollywood as a whole, and the actors.
It's like
and
an obsession.
Yeah.
And so it's like the fact that he does get kind of possessed or whatever, for all we know. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it was so cool.
And it's funny, the button at the end, you said, like, he's like, oh, you guys were there and then you weren't. And it's like,
yeah, so he has no idea. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know what we
it's-
went through. He's
it's-
just more of like, we entered this building and we shouldn't have, and now you guys don't tell anyone we did it.
It's such a
I almost
fun
lost
story.
you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It was great.
And again, I think you recommend it. I recommend it. If you, again, it's dollar for dollar, it's the best value next to Dark Harbor, I think, that we can like vouch for in terms of things that we've done. But as a Mercer event, it's really good.
Yeah, I
it's
love it.
really good.
I love it.
Drowned Out Productions. Find them on Instagram. People in the Dark, an immersive ghost story. I'm sure if you Google it, it will lead you to their Instagram page. I think that one of the knocks they had, they're a little harder to find.
Yeah, People in the Dark, LA might pop up, or like we said, if you do Drowned Out Productions, People in the Dark, you're gonna find it. Because I'm with you when there's other things called People in the Dark and stuff that are sometimes hard to find.
Yeah.
So, but it will eventually lead you there. And especially if you go to their Instagram, like I said, there's a discount code on there and stuff. So like, take advantage, try to go. It'd be awesome to keep these creatives like going till next year, because we will definitely be checking them out again.
That's a great point. And with that, I think we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
I'm Chris.
And I guess I'm Jessica.
And we'll see you next time.